Okay, recording has started. Okay, happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you for coming to the monthly LTPT leader meeting. We're excited that all y'all are here. We'll have a lot of updates and good discussions at today's meeting. So, yeah, I guess to first start it off, I know I've had a lot of contacts reach out to me about the bead process, having kind of questions here and there, and we're asking for kind of just a quick overview of the bead challenge process. I know our office is expecting to open up that portal next Monday, so that might be changed. We're not sure, but with bead challenge process updates and questions and answers, I will throw that over to Joshua Holdley. He's been our main contact and resource during this process. He's done a great job on it. So if y'all have any questions or concerns, please, ask your questions now since Josh is on here. So I will throw that over to Joshua.
Thank you, Aaron. I will drop my email in the chat as well. Feel free to contact me for bead questions, anything like that, as well as reach out to Aaron still. Be the kind of the quickest way. Just a quick heads up where we're at. We have issued accounts for anybody that has registered this past Monday. We're planning to do a second round of issuing accounts today, and then we'll also be sending out that locked web page today that gives access to essentially the bead challenge resources as well as where the submission app will be hosted. We are flying through UAT testing. We're hoping to have that wrapped up tomorrow and have it released Monday. So probably be Monday afternoon that will start our 45-day challenge submission window. But I think as far as local governments go, I can give you a heads up of who has registered, just so you guys have a better idea of that. We only have, I believe, Hardy, would be the Hardy County Industrial Development Authority, as well as Alachua, the BOCC. Those are the only two local governments we have. And we have one nonprofit as well, which is going to be the Preservation of Affordable Housing Incorporated. And then we have about a few dozen providers that have signed up. So it's kind of a quick snapshot of who are out on registration. But I can open the floor up. St. Lucie, I will reach out to you and we can see where that's at. And if anybody else is registered.
Josh, once the challenges are placed, which I imagine most will come from the ISP providers, but will they be public to see immediately, or how does that work?
So we are doing kind of a two-step processing. So we will, the 45 challenge submission window will be viewable to the Office of Broadband only. At the beginning of the process, we will go through validation, essentially make sure that what was submitted meets the criteria of a bare challenge submission. We're not going to do any subjective items on that. We're just doing the evidence submitted matches what is required to be a challenge, so we're allowing it to go through the rebuttal process. So to answer your question, the rebuttal process is when you'd be able to see challenges that are made, the challenge submissions. And then there is a transparency clause that we'll enact at the end of this that allows everybody to see the determination that was made, as well as a corresponding challenge submission and challenge rebuttal evidence that was presented before we make the final NTA submission.
And the rebuttal process is within the 45 days? When does that start?
So it's that two kind of phase. So the 45-day for challenge submissions is solely for challenge submissions. Okay. The reason we kind of did that was because there are some elections that we've taken, such as area and MDU challenges that trigger areas within a block group. So we didn't want people trying to defend and then giving them everything to defend again. So the rebuttal period will be 7 days after the submission period ends, and is going to be rebuttals and determinations. Because it's confidential data, being able to see the BSL IDs and such, you would need an account to do the rebuttal. The service availability type codes, so your availability and technology type codes, can only be rebutted by who is challenged, meaning the ISP. However, enforceable commitments, planned service, non-enforceable commitments, and some of the CAI codes, challenges rather, are rebuttable by anybody, but you still need an account to participate. Because of this, we are allowing registration to be open the entire process. We will probably close registration for a week at the end of challenge submissions, just so we don't have that scenario where people are trying to sign up at the last minute and it's affecting their submissions. But we plan to reopen it exactly like 1 day after That way, anybody that wants to participate only in the rebuttal process can still sign up and participate. You still need a license, just because it would be viewing essentially confidential information, and that could derive from the BDC and BSL fabric, but that's kind of where it's at a little bit.
Thank you.
And Josh, I see some comments about registrations in the chat.
Yes. So, all right. I can drop the name of that nonprofit. I think it was Preservation. I'll have to grab it. I was looking for those other registrations. But yeah, if you signed up and registered, let us know. We had an issue with the original survey. Mainly, we had to switch from FRNs, provider IDs, and the whole entity ID unique problem we had. It did mess up the survey service a little bit. So there may be some stuff underneath. And I can share this web page. We'll have all the challenge information as well as a survey in there. Make sure you're using the web page and not a saved link for the survey. That way you're not referencing that old survey. It should be closed at this moment, but it may have some issues where it's just some old registrations got against it.
And I see comments from St. Lucie and Seminole saying that they've registered.
Yep, and I will reach out to you both and kind of see where that stands, because it did not come through on the registration. Any other questions from the chat or just kind of live questions?
Now is a really good time for folks if you've got questions, because as we said, we're prospectively opening up on Monday. So if you've got questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Because if you've got the question, then others probably have the same question.
Hey, good morning. Axel Kloberg, Hillsborough County. So once you register for the portal for the challenge process, maybe can you just give a brief overview what one can expect once you've registered, what are the next steps? Yeah, just kind of like a high level overview, what the process is. It really hasn't been described, or I can't find it.
Yes, so I'll go ahead. I'll share my screen. More or less, this is our challenge page. Just you can get to off our flutterjobs.org page. Click right here, it'll take you right over to it. But yeah, so as soon as you go through this registration right here, what you're going to have is when we do our account registration, which will be usually Monday and Thursday, you'll receive an email. It will come from our ArcGIS notifications. It'll say, hello, this is a, bead challenge process registration sign up. Please, finish setting up your account here. You'll go ahead and put a password into that account, and then you'll be signed in with the account, essentially up here in the top right corner. And once you're signed in with that account, you'll be able to see this extra tab right here. And it is actually the bead submission page. It has all the bead information. It has a challenge app on top of it, as well as the data sets. That's more the process itself. So you'll be able to download bulk templates for, kind of submissions, as well as see the true data set. And if you're a county as well, we have access to essentially a BDC BSL map that we've kind of derived for challenges for you guys. But yeah, so broadly, you'll get an email that says sign up for an account. That account is kind of your golden ticket to our challenge process. It includes the submission and eventually the rebuttal as well. So just keep an eye on making sure you're signed into it and then looking at this Connected Florida Bead Program page. Once again, that page can be navigated to by just clicking this right here. And then you'll be able to sign in the top right corner with the information that we send to you in that side of that email. So pretty straightforward on that. We're always here to help you guys, so feel free to message or email us. The actual app itself is pretty straightforward. It has a step 1, a step 2, a step 3, where you're selecting a point on the map. You just type an address in there, and it'll walk you right through the process of how to do it. Bulk challenges are a different story. We're kind of there to assist you with that, but it is making a CSV. We assume that'll be much more for the providers and not the probably the local governments as much. But did that cover it kind of broadly?
No, yes, thank you. Appreciate it. Just kind of wanted to see what we can expect once we sign up and how it works. But if I have any other questions, I'll give you a shout. Thank you.
And yeah, feel free. We'll probably have office hours. We're determining those times now, but we'll have open office hours a few times a week. That is just drop-in. that has myself or Paul available. So we'll have that resource available throughout the challenge process as well. And in addition, if you want a working session, feel free to message myself, Aaron, or even Bob to get that kind of coordinated, and we'll gladly sit down and and kind of have a working session with you. The caveat is obviously we can't kind of provide subjective expertise on it, but we can provide the expertise to actually make it to a valid challenge. And then to answer Maribel's question, we will publish the name of registers challengers, not during the challenge submission process, but at the end of it. It is one of the packets that we had to include to the NTA upon final submission. So we will release the name of the challengers and what they are registered as, whether they're a nonprofit, whether they are an ISP, a local government, or tribal. It also included on that is every challenge is going to be public and transparent. So it will include who the challenger was, who rebutted, and what the evidence submitted in both the submission and rebuttal is, as well as the determination recommended by the State Broadband Office to the NTIA. That will all be posted publicly. It'll probably be through a map-centric app that you can just kind of click on and see the locations that were challenged and kind of push it on that. But we'll redact information, hopefully make that more of a public view. And then feel free to also, I know Leo dropped a great resource in there. Feel free to also look at our proposals. Our initial proposals does describe some of the process. Initial proposal 1 is a proposal that does outline our challenge process, as well as a challenge policy guidance. And I'll post a link to the NTA guidance. We made our challenge process almost identical to the guidance. Everything we're collecting is NTA required. We're not collecting a lot of extra stuff really. There are some things that just help us make better decisions, such as funding program names and things like that. But for the most part, following that challenge process guidance to a T will kind of let you know exactly what we're collecting and what makes a successful challenge. And I'll post that right here. But as it stands, I'll follow up with St. Lucie and Seminole, and then I will drop the name of that registered nonprofit. If there's any other questions, feel free to post in the chat as we go throughout this meeting, and I'll do my best to respond to them. Or feel free to grab my email at the top and shoot me a private email. Well, thank you all. We're excited to get this going. It's been intense. It's a long, complicated process. So we're excited to actually kind of get going on this. But thank you, Aaron. I'm back to you.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Oop. Let me go back and share the agenda. Okay, now we will discuss the LTPT representatives at the Broadband Summit. I know we officially had the cutoff for LTPTs to sign up for the office to pay for their stay at the summit. That was cut off on June 26th. I have had a few last minute LTPTs request to send a representative. We are kind of allowing a late sign up, but we are starting to create that room block for the hotel. So it's going to probably officially be cut off probably by next week, so July 26th by the latest. So it's really imperative that if y'all have not signed up or are wanting to attend the summit and get to mainly get to have our office pay for your stay, please let me know as soon as possible, because probably around August, if you reach out to me, it's going to be too late. That doesn't mean you won't be able to attend the summit. It just means that our office won't be able to pay for your stay. So please let me know ASAP. The only information I need is your name, your title, your phone number, and your email address. Another thing that we are doing this year is that even though our office is paying for your stay, we will be asking that once you get to the hotel and check in to put your card on file, just because last year we had a few people say that they would attend, they did not show up, and our office had to pay for empty rooms. So we just want to make sure that there's a certain liability there as well. So, but obviously once y'all check out of the hotel on the 13th, you will not be charged. Our office will be covering that stay. So if there are any questions or concerns about that, please reach out to me as soon as you can, just because I need to provide one of my colleagues an updated list every time a new person is added. So just let me know as soon as y'all possibly can. And now we will start to discuss LTPT panel topics for the summit. We will be having an LCPT panel. I'm really excited about that. We have 6 panelists who are coming from all different backgrounds, different counties, rural, urban. I really wanted to have a good group of people on there just to express their experiences being an LTPT leader, what has made them successful, what are the hardships they've gone through, the challenges, and it's a great way for y'all to share your thoughts and how you've been able to get through these challenges as well. So speaking of the topics, we have talked about some of the topics that we would like to cover for the panelists to talk about. But if y'all have any ideas, please, share them during the meeting. I'll write them down and we will, discuss about that and see what can be approved to be on the agenda to be talked about. So does anyone have any ideas for what they would like to talk about at the summit? Or
It can be challenges, it can be successes, it can be new partnerships that you've been able to form, best practices, anything at all. We'd love to hear your ideas.
This is Tommy Crosby in Lottsville County. The only concern that we're still struggling with and we'd like to hear more about is the resolution after beads of some of the different funding, how they're going to interact and what happens if they don't play out, specifically the RDOF awards. So with all the different coming from the different agencies, we are concerned that there are a couple of awarded areas that now ISPs are not eligible for either state awards, capital project fund awards, or probably even beads coming down because it'll overlap. And then if those ISPs that won those did not get them, what that means for those people when all this money is said and done. And will they have high-speed internet or broadband, affordable broadband or not? And is that going to go back to the local communities to resolve, or is there a plan? I guess that's the biggest concern we still have, not understanding how that relationship's going to work.
okay, no, that's a great topic to discuss. I know a few counties are running into that issue, and it's very imperative for it to be discussed and talked about. So I've written that down. So thank you, Tommy, for suggesting that. I know Maribel just put in the chat, are you accepting suggestions for topics for the LCPT panel as well? Yeah, we're mainly just accepting suggestions for topics for the LTPT panel. Right now, I think really overall just for the agenda as well for the summit, I know that will pertain a lot of focus on workforce development regarding broadband. But right now we're really just trying to get ideas from y'all. We really want to hear from y'all what you would like for the LTPT panel to discuss. So I know Sandra just raised her hand, so.
Yes. Hey, thank you. Sandra Guffey in DeSoto County. Something I struggle with is what are we supposed to do as a county government? I know our administrators made it very clear that we do not want to be an ISP. So how much can we do? What should we be doing? Just seems to be an ongoing question.
Okay, Sandra, could you kind of elaborate that on a little more? Just like what should the county be doing as an LTPT as a whole, or is it regarding something like specific within, like, grants or connecting with other associations within the county, or?
Yeah, as a whole, what should we be doing? how do we and then also how do I keep the momentum going? They were all really excited at the beginning, and now people are just kind of waning and not real engaged and like, okay, we've done this, and how long, isn't this over with? Aren't you done? Sort of feeling I get. So that's another subject that could be really helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. And I think Craig also raised his hand, but I'm not sure if he wanted to talk anymore.
Yeah, I was not for the LTPT panel. I was thinking more broadly. I was just going to say that individual appointments was very helpful. It'd be nice if we could sit down with someone from the state and really go over our individual county in the areas and the wards and just really do some back and forth conversation questions. But once you clarified it was only for that particular panel, I don't have any suggestions for that. More for the conference as a whole.
Craig,
Okay.
this is Leo. Just to add, I'm sorry, Aaron. There
Oh, no,
will
you're fine.
be an office hour session or multiple where you will have the opportunity to just speak to any one of us while we're there during the summit. So you might not be able to catch me or Aaron at a particular time because we may be in the middle of presenting or doing something within the agenda. But either way, we will be available for anyone that would like to just spend some time chatting it up.
That was super helpful last time because we didn't want to waste, raise your hand in the middle of a session and waste everybody's time with something specific to ours. And it was a way for us to really focus in on our issue and go have some immediate back and forth. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we definitely recognize the value of doing that. So we're doing that again.
Okay. I saw Peter Murray's comments in the chat. He suggested best practices for digital adoption and use would be helpful. He further said the plan is very good, but hearing more from the people deploying programs is desired. I see Marybelle is presenting today. More of this type of content from the experts. So I've written that down, Peter, as well. So thank you for that suggestion. And if you want to elaborate on it, you can as well.
Well, just that we've spent so much time on the infrastructure, and I think collectively we've done an amazing job, and I think it's going to execute really well. But when we do the digital enablement programs, as my group calls it, you get really into the weeds, and there's nuances, and how do you do X for veterans versus disabled or seniors, and if it's devices like Eris does or navigation like Maribel does, I find there aren't that many experts currently in the state on these niches. And if we just had more interaction on that, I think a lot of the counties that this is new to would really benefit to see how these successful programs come to life, and maybe even understand what they cost and that sort of thing. Because I've observed there isn't a lot of discussion of the nuance, of these very specific elements. For instance, like how our libraries are involved. That's a really big one. Some libraries are distributing devices, some have digital navigators, some have computer labs, and some say, it's not our job. We've got resources, people can come and get them, and then somebody else does all this training. So, in a couple of the counties, we found amazing resources already in the library system that just with a little tweaking and a little help and targeting, they really can help people. Like handing out a computer, give a person, register a person for a library card. Simple as that, right? and introduce them to how they can get online and get to where they want to go. So that sort of thing.
Okay, great. No, I think that's a great topic to also discuss. So I really appreciate y'all speaking out about what you would like to talk about. But if y'all have, we can keep the conversation going. If y'all have any ideas, please don't be afraid to, express them. I know Paul just raised his hand.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So I'm Paul Witherspoon. I've been with the office now for, I guess, going on 3 years. And there's two components to this, right? One of the training in BEAD is going to be used for some of that. Well, we've got the capacity building grant, which we're in the process of completing our project descriptions. So any suggestions that anybody has on that, we've got about 9 months or so to complete those project descriptions, specific project descriptions. We've been fortunate enough to have kind of started things off with our multipurpose community facility and with our digital connectivity technology programs. So we've got a pretty good sense as to what is needed and what organizations are interested in those types of things. But we're looking at the better part of $70 million over the next 5 years to invest in these programs. So we want to make sure that we get as many projects descriptions as we possibly can, because once we do the application, then we can't change any of that. On the good side and downside is these funds are going to come in three separate notice of funding opportunities because of the way NTIA has set up the funding allocations. So we'll have a first batch of about $40 million that we can do specific programs to. And the downside is we've got to make application for all three of these NOFOs. So we won't be completely locked out after doing the first set. We'll have two additional bites at the apple to do additional projects as we learn moving forward from the initial $40 million tranche. But any suggestions that you all have, please provide us input so that we can kind of earmark those, maybe not in specific detail, but at least get some sense as to what programs are essentially necessary out there. Like I said, the last two projects that we've had, the digital connectivity in particular, we got an opportunity to actually get out and talk to some folks at the libraries and at some of these nonprofits and see what they're doing. They've got some very good programs out there that these funds will only begin to scratch the surface on.
Mhm.
And Paul, the second and third tranche of the capacity, do you have an estimate about what year we would do each of those?
Yeah, so it's a 5-year program. We got our first tranche of money involves the first 3 years, two of which have already gone by, and one started this past October. So I suspect as Congress does their appropriations, those NOFOs will come out because they're going to be tied to that. So it won't be like years from now. The second tranche will probably come sometime in the fall or early spring, followed by the next fall or early spring for the third tranche. But each of those will have a starting date of our initial award. So it's 5 days from the initial award of that first $40 million, which I think will be sometime around late August to mid-September.
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, you're saying the first one you'll be able to release a NOFO, say, in September, and then the following fall of 25 and then the fall of 26, it's likely that the second and third rounds might be issued?
That's correct. As it stands now, we were a little bit disappointed in the fact that we couldn't plan for the full 5 years all at once. But the more ideas we get, the better off we can plan. So when we get those next two tranches of funding, we can go ahead and make those specific project details available much earlier. The September one, we're gonna wait. We have 9 months from when we get the award to provide specific details. So we still have some time, but we don't want to wait till the last minute because we'd like to start these things off because again, it's a 5-year time date. So the sooner you guys can provide us with input for the use of those funds, such as the digital navigator programs and device distribution and those types of capacity projects, the better we are to make our plea to the federal government in our application.
Excellent. All right. That's very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. If y'all don't have any more suggestions for the panel topics, we can move along on the agenda. We will now throw it over to Maribel Martinez. She runs the Maribel Martinez Consulting Company, and she will be providing a PowerPoint presentation regarding building and growing a digital navigator network. So I will throw it over to Maribel and start sharing her presentation.
Thanks so much, Erin. I really appreciate this space of time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this with colleagues all around Florida. We've had lots of experience working with digital navigator programs over the past 9 years, and more recently within the context of an ongoing 3-year project in the Sun Coast of Florida. So we're excited to continue sharing more. You can go ahead and advance. Yeah, thanks, Aaron. All right, so as more funding for activities like digital navigators become available, it's important to think about the role of a digital navigator both within an organization as well as in the community they serve. How that very community can support the critical work that digital navigators do, and how digital navigation generates valuable data and storytelling opportunities to help drive digital access, skills, and support in the local area and beyond. As we will discuss, digital navigation also affects metrics like employment and new small business registrations. So let's dive in. I'm sure most of us here have heard of digital navigators. They've grown in popularity since COVID, but as I continue to work with clients on digital navigation, it's clear that there are different interpretations on the role itself. Most importantly, digital navigation services should be free to consumers, and digital navigators should be able to assist with acquiring connectivity and devices, as well as facilitating digital literacy skills training and support on a wide variety of topics to help people of all ages. Digital navigators are vital to a community's ability to use technology ably in relevant ways, and this is not expected to change since technology moves at a pace much faster than we are able to adapt. Moreover, when we do adopt digital tools, most of us do so because other tools change or become obsolete. So this constant forward motion inevitably leaves many people out, and this is a gap that digital navigators should be equipped to fill. In the early days of the Affordable Connectivity Program, ISPs became wise to having their customer service representatives call themselves digital navigators. This is because they came to understand that trust that was implicit in the title for consumers. But beware, someone who fills out an application for low-cost internet on another's behalf as a one-off is not a digital navigator. A digital navigator in its truest sense is essentially a case manager who is adept at assisting customers with their connectivity, device, and digital skills needs. The relationship between a consumer and their digital navigator is long-term, often moving in cycles depending on the consumer's evolving needs. Since we know that technology isn't going anywhere but forward and fast, how can we build and grow digital navigators to meet the increasing demand of technology in our communities? First, you must understand the need for connectivity devices and digital skills in your community, and that's a big first step. But you can't do this work alone, nor should you attempt to. My experience developing digital navigators is a story of partnerships and collaboration as much as it is about training and community support. So, who are the other like-minded individuals in your community? Which organizations will they connect to find the people who need them the most? This is all accomplished with conversations, community dialogues, listening tours, lunch and learns, sidebars at a conference, and so on. From there, it's about constant communication on the need for connectivity, devices, and training that will help partners emerge and for goals and roles to be defined. Not everyone will want to nominate a digital navigator for training at their organization, for instance, and not every organization will want to house a digital navigation initiative, but maybe they can offer a meeting room where digital navigators can work or train. Others may be able to support financially. The first step is identifying who else cares. So now you have like-minded people in sync with who you know. There's a digital access gap in your community. Now you need to quantify that gap with numbers like demographics and census blocks to demonstrate the need. The American Community Survey is a fantastic tool I return to often for this type of data gathering, But don't forget, you now have partners and collaborators who have a pulse on the community. These organizations know their clients and what they lack, and as such, they can offer insider information on how to reach specific households and demographic groups. When these data combine, they tell a community's digital divide story. And this is compelling for news outlets, social media, and other organizations to take notice of the work that is needed. So now you have partners to work with, you know where the need is, and how to reach specific people. Investing in high quality training programs for your digital navigators is critical to the success of the program and the best way to ensure a return on investment. Think about the wealth of information and skills a digital navigator should possess, and then think about what a difference they can make in your community. Transforming lives through digital capabilities is worth the investment, and a digital navigator is doing exactly that. They're transforming lives by connecting people to affordable internet, computing devices, and digital skills training and support. Digital navigators will no doubt also be invaluable to your staff, since a good digital navigator can be tapped for in-house professional development, training, and other services essential to your workers being happy on the job. Once you're ready to implement and deploy digital navigators, be aware of the temptation to spread them too thin. Choose the areas in which you will work carefully, where they will experience success early, what I call low-hanging fruit. This is because you'll find people there who will easily qualify for low-cost programs, and they're eager to get their hands on a computer and start learning. Make sure that your digital navigators have cross-functional support for their work, because everyone at your organization should know what the role entails so that each department can support with things like marketing materials, outreach, community engagement, events, data management, and more. This is also the stage where digital navigators will start to gather information on their clients. How will digital navigators record their interactions with clients? How will they manage their appointments? What other data, such as outputs and outcomes, will we need to report on at the end of the year to our board of directors, for example? As I've found with digital navigators across the country, they appreciate and need ongoing support to hone their skills, overcome challenges, and continue to develop their talents. This could translate into monthly meetings, drop-in sessions for technical assistance, or even small professional development conferences. The most successful digital navigators have supervisors as digital inclusion champions, get the time and resources they need to reach and work with clients, and have opportunities to stay on top of their skills, especially computer hardware and software skills. Finally, don't forget to recognize the hard work they do. Recognition could mean an increase in pay, additional time off, and opportunities to earn tuition-free certifications, among others. I've mentioned data gathering a few times, so let's talk about this in greater detail. Most, if not all, of the Digital Navigator programs that I've been a part of have required accountability in some way to a governing board or a leadership team or a community to let everyone know what the effects of having a Digital Navigator program were and what was learned. I encourage a combination of quantitative and qualitative data. I train digital navigators to survey their clients to understand the current state of digital access in their home, to write notes during each client interaction, and to keep account of how many classes they teach, for example, or how many low-cost internet applications they submit on others' behalf. These are just some of the examples of the types of data a digital navigator program can generate. And there are wonderful golden nuggets of information that can easily be shared through storytelling and social media posts. I also work with organizations to think about outcomes versus simple outputs. Outcomes such as how many people started a business as a result of attending this series of workshops, or how many unemployed people found full-time employment, or how many people enrolled in an advanced degree or certification program. There are other outcomes to consider, such as whether seniors feel less isolated after learning how to use a tablet device, for example, or whether an increased number of minorities and females are enrolled in STEM classes. Reporting cadence is an org level decision for sure, but the main idea to remember here is that using metrics to start with, the end in mind, as I like to say, is a key part of starting a successful digital navigator program. What gets measured gets managed. I heard this phrase recently at a conference and it instantly struck a chord with me because I find it to be true that in program management, whatever won't be measured will simply just slip through our fingers. So in starting a digital navigator program, think about the goals for digital navigators themselves. How many people should they strive to work with each month or reach? How many tech support classes will they teach or will the institution offer? I'm a fan of regular check-ins, and our time definitely includes reviewing data when I do meet with digital navigators and their supervisors. With data being gathered on a regular basis, there is ample opportunity to use those numbers and those takeaways to develop great storytelling around your digital navigator program. Here are some examples of instances where data can be shared. And as with any issue involving some controversy, putting a face to the problem is often a good way to familiarize others with the need for digital navigators in your community and how their work is helping the community to achieve its goals overall. So we finished our small scale implementation of a digital navigator program, but we know the need is great in other parts of the community as well. What then? The question of where to go next is best answered by having all stakeholders involved at the table just as they were in the beginning. Only now we have lots of data and experiences to share that will inform the next go round. You're also looking to welcome new partners and collaborators into the mix, but you have a sound structure on which to continue building a solid approach to ensuring everyone in your community has the digital access tools they need to live, work, learn, play, engage civically, stay healthy, and prosper. So to sum up, digital navigation is not a list of steps to follow. A good digital navigator exhibits dexterity with hard and soft skills and are highly adaptive. Invest in sound training for your digital navigators, take stock of your assets, start with the end in mind, and let your community lead the way. Everything I've shared with you today is embodied in the Patterson Foundation's Digital Navigator Program, a regional initiative my company has led since 2021. In that time, we have cross-trained 35 nonprofit professionals within 8 nonprofit organizations as digital navigators. We've collaborated with 3 cohorts over 38 weeks from 2021 to 2023 to train and support digital navigators. We've helped at least 2,597 people interact with a digital navigator program or with a digital navigator from 2021 to 2023 during training itself. So this 2,597 number does not include what the organizations continue to do on their own. These are just the people who were reached during the typical 10 to 12-week implementation period. Community members consistently also rated their interactions with digital navigators at a rate of 4 or 5 on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being excellent. So we have wonderful data that suggests that their interactions with digital navigators are not only pleasant, but incredibly valuable as well. And I'd like to take this opportunity to hop over to the Patterson Foundation's Digital Navigator Program page so you can take a look at the resources there. Erin, if you'll click on the link, I just want to show the folks, yeah, if you'll click on the actual white
There it goes.
portion of the logo, yeah, it'll pop up. If we're not able to get to it, then I can just send over the link so they can check it out as well. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah, there it is. So on the right-hand side menu, you'll find links to all of the newsletters and blogs that have been published on the Digital Navigator program since its inception. You'll find descriptors of the program, why the foundation decided to take on digital access as a key issue for the organization. Remember that this is a philanthropic organization, so it's really a wonderful use case for how philanthropy is out in front with digital access and all things related to the digital divide. And as you scroll down, there's a video there with testimonials and other information that you might find helpful. You can subscribe to the newsletter if you're interested, and that'll keep you up to date on our brand new implementation, which starts this month, actually. Well, officially launched probably next month. So we will be launching our 4th cohort of the Digital Navigator program in DeSoto County this coming month. So we're excited about that. And with that, take us back to our last slide, Aaron, in case anybody would like to send me an email or ask more questions. But I will turn it over to you all with my thanks again for the ability to be able to talk with everyone today about digital navigators and digital navigator initiatives. If time permits, I'm happy to take questions. But with that, it's all yours, Aaron. Thanks again.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Maribel,
Mary.
there's a question in the chat for you.
Oh, let's look at that. Okay. I need to clear up some real estate here on the desktop. Give me 1 second. Okay, great. Maribel, what is a good ratio of navigator to client? That is an excellent question. Are regular hours with drop-in style support effective? Okay, so let's talk about the ratio first. I'm assuming, Peter, you're talking about how many digital navigator clients should be assigned to a single digital navigator. It really is a question of comfort and also maybe even the need as well. I'll tell you that obviously smaller is better because you get to reach more people. But there are certainly organizations that with teams of digital navigators are able to spread out and fan out a whole lot more. I don't know that there's a magic number, so I can't give you a range, but I would say, the smaller the better. It's like with any case management system, right? The fewer your clients, the more the individual or high touch it becomes. So I would love to be able to say that there's a particular number that we're aiming at, but we're not. And considering that digital navigator interactions come in waves almost, it really will depend on what's going on in the community. So of course, during COVID, we experienced a lot of people who were interested in lowering the bills or obtaining internet. So it was important for digital navigators to be ready and to be available. So the demand was high. There are probably times where that wanes a little bit. We see that when employment comes up, but with life circumstances, as we know, there are ups and downs. There's always a steady stream of people wanting to talk to digital navigators. And as far as the regular hours with drop-in style, yes. So a lot of the implementations that I've done over the past 9 years have incorporated this style where you'll have a digital navigator who's positioned at maybe a local library or a nonprofit, maybe the third Thursday of the month on a regular basis. And after a while, the community starts to understand that cadence. And then before you know it, you have a steady stream of people waiting to talk to that digital navigator the third Thursday of that month. So the drop-in sessions work beautifully for organizations that cross-train digital navigators. So you have a digital navigator who has their full-time role as X within the organization, and then they layer on the digital navigator training, then we need to start thinking about appointments because we want that person to be able to balance those duties. So I hope that's helpful. Right.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Maribel.
Okay, great. Any other questions? And if not, y'all can email me anytime. Thank you again, Aaron and Sean, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, we'll get back onto the agenda. Okay. Thank you, Maribel. That was very resourceful and a great presentation. So thank you for taking your time to present that to the group. I will now turn it over to Sean Lewis. He will discuss ISP low-cost plan offer awareness.
Thank you, Aaron. Good morning, everyone. I've been thinking about this quite a bit since we all know that there was great concern about what happens after the Affordable Connectivity Program ends. What I would suggest is that each of your teams invite the ISPs to your meetings, please, and ask them to make presentations on what the low-cost offerings are for your communities so that the folks who may have fallen off of ACP are aware that there are still some options that may still be accessible to them. We don't want to lose an entire population simply because the subsidy that they relied upon disappeared. So please reach out to the ISPs who are serving in your communities and ask them to really share with you their whole catalog of what they're offering, what the low cost offerings are for your community members. Folks simply may not know that there are other options open and available to them. So I really highly encourage that. As often as you meet, please provide that opportunity for them to share that. So that's what I had on that. I'll jump straight into the next item on the agenda because it's me again. I wanted to give everyone an update on the Digital Connectivity Technology Program. Uh, the decisions about awards for that program have been made. That's our $13 million program for digital devices. We're really excited about that. Uh, Award letters are forthcoming, so be on the lookout for those. And once those are all out, you will see postings about that. We are really excited about that program because that's one of those programs that really touches individuals in a very significant way. You know, we do a lot of work on the grand scale, the infrastructure deployment scale, but programs like this one and the multipurpose community facilities programs really impact people on a very individual, personal level. So we're super excited about being able to share those award announcements. So those are forthcoming finally. So great news is on the horizon there. And that's the update I had on those two items. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, thank you, Sean, for those updates. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat or reach out to me as well. And then now we would like to throw it at the local team leaders. We would like for y'all to discuss if y'all have any LTPT community events, what might be some of those initiatives y'all might have, and any reports that you might have about your team as well. So if y'all could discuss any of that or even, bounce off ideas from one another, that would be a great opportunity, I feel like, for everyone. So if anyone would like to share, you can go ahead.
Just feel free to unmute yourselves and talk about what's going on in your communities.
I can unmute myself. Hello, everybody. David Collins, the Eris Foundation. Wow, we've had tremendous success in a lot of categories with a lot of organizations impacting a variety, right? Telehealth, seniors. So just very fortunate to be a part of this and to be able to deploy so many devices in Orange County. Just tremendous success. So looking forward to meeting people in person, obviously here in a couple of weeks, but happy to share any best practices and how we've been partnering with Orange County. It's just a lot of momentum in a lot of categories and working with our nonprofit partners. Is really a secret. Good community collaboration and good partnership for deployment of devices to individuals in need. So just very fortunate that things are going extremely well. So happy to share best practices when we're all in person.
Oh, Paul has raised his hand.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Since we do have some time here, I just wanted to address a question that Tom had earlier on the rural digital opportunity programs. There's 9 providers in the state that have been awarded RDOF awards to the tune of about 103,000 plus locations. And of those, we've spoken to more than half of those awardees, representing just a little over 60,000 of those locations. And they have all begun construction on their RDOF locations. So that is something that keeps us awake at the Office of Broadband as well. We do have a contingency set aside for any of those that go into default at the latter stages of our program. So I'm much more comfortable now with where we are on the RDOF with something in the early stages that, God forbid, we run out of money and those RDOF people have not even started construction, and we'd end up with the people that most needed those services to not get them still. So I'm fairly comfortable that we'll get to a point where all of those projects will either be under construction or we'll have a contingency set aside to get those awards out there and cover those locations. The FCC has determined that they're going to allow for, early defaults, or have encouraged early defaults, but they're not going to withdraw the penalty associated with those defaults. So I think it's probably a little less likely that people will make it known that they're going to default early on. But we're keeping an eye on all of those. We're in contact with as many of those RDOF people as we possibly can be. And we share your concerns about some of those locations not being served at the end of all of these programs. Another thing that the NTIA has done, along with the FCC, is forced more collaboration between those people that run those programs, the Reconnect and the Enhanced ACAM and the RDOF programs, to collaborate with states, because, as you know, those programs are still ongoing. There's still applications out there. And prior to a couple of months ago, they weren't obligated to discuss any of this stuff with the states, which made it very, very difficult for us to do, service area establishment and provide awards in areas that were going to be awarded by Reconnect or Enhanced ACAM programs. So two good progression incidents occurred. Now those folks have got to talk to the states in collaboration before they announce awards. It doesn't mean that our awards will override theirs, but at least we'll know where there's committed awards that are funded on a federal basis, so we know they'll get done. And we have been keeping track of what's going on with the ongoing construction for the RDOF areas. So I will be available at the summit to discuss any of this stuff that anybody wants to, or feel free to give me an email or a call, and I'll be happy to tell you where we stand with that stuff. Thanks, Aaron.
Paul, a quick question. Is the guidance still that we have enough funding for BEAD to address all the unserved and underserved, or where do we stand with that?
Yeah, Florida's in a pretty good shape. We'll be able to serve all the unserved and underserved in the state with whichever technology best suits the locations. And we do have a contingency set aside for those RDOF areas that are not constructed within the time frame of our program. So I think we're in really good shape, Peter. I think we're going to succeed in having 100% coverage in the state of Florida one way or another.
That's great news. And then the remaining millions will go towards the workforce development programs. I think that's what I read in the plan.
Yeah, we've got a significant sum set aside. Yeah, we've got a significant sum of funding set aside specifically for workforce development. And that'll be a big discussion at our summit in September. Obviously, we've got all these funds coming in. We've got all these different programs going on. Where the heck is the workforce going to come from? And then who's going to maintain those thousands of miles of fiber and the additional towers and the components associated with that infrastructure as we move forward in the future, right? We'll have another 500,000 houses that are connected, literally thousands of miles of fiber, and another, hundreds of towers. So that's going to be a large component of us moving forward, is the funding that we have specifically set aside for workforce development. How are we going to set up that pipeline? How are we going to get those new workers that are essential to making sure that we have maintenance and operational capabilities well into the future?
Outstanding. All right. Thank you.
Okay. If no one has any reports or community events going on, The next meeting will be August 15th, 2024. The usual 10:30 to 12 p.m. But I will throw it over to Sean Lewis to provide one more update.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. The last update is that this is my last meeting with the LTPTs because I am moving on from the Office of Broadband. I wanted to thank everyone for all the tremendous work that all the teams have been doing. Your success is paramount to everything that we do. Thank you to all the partners, Eris Foundation, and everyone else who's really done just a yeoman's job to support all that the office is doing and support the communities. It has been a great honor and pleasure to work with all of you and the folks in the Florida Office of Broadband. It has been wonderful. So thank you all for all you do and that you continue to do. And I look forward to reading about all of your successes. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I know the office and all the LTPTs will miss you a lot as well. So we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your hard work. With that being said, we will end the call. Like I said, next meeting will be August 15th. We hope to see all of y'all there. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to our office. So thank y'all so much, and we'll see y'all next month.
Thank you, everyone.